Well, guys, we are back for another episode of the Liberal Asshole Show, episode 27, as we have 8 topics to cover today. And what are these topics we're going to be talking about?
We got societal double standards between men and women, California recall election, mocking Covidiots, more of them, AUKUS?
AUKUS.
AUKUS, that's right. Harris versus Weinstein on COVID-19 and Ivermectin. We're ripping apart Tulsi and Rockstar.
And also maybe talking a little bit about Kyle's unpopular takes, which we might do a video on that in the future. Which, hey, maybe we should talk about that really quickly since it's so short.
Yes, so we can do that briefly.
Alright, so anyways, as you all maybe know, Secular Talk, or as we call him, Kyle, is a progressive YouTuber we've watched for forever pretty much. He's a really huge progressive YouTuber. Earlier this month, he did a few videos where it's called Kyle's Unpopular Takes, where he talks about issues that usually that he supports that are either not supportive with the American people or more likely are not supported by like the far left basically in the country. And the funny thing is, all the things he supports, he talks about in these issues, are actually usually what the majority of Americans and even left think are correct. It's like a really ironic thing that he would actually think that they're unpopular when they're usually pretty popular.
Yeah. Then we had that one other video like 6 hours later. I can't remember what it was, and that was the one that was hit like 30% dislikes. So, yeah. I'm hearing it coming through all right on your end.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So yeah, and then like a few others hit and then came in, and that one got hit with big dislikes.
So we actually might, sometime in the future, not on a normal day we do this, we might actually watch every one of his unpopular takes videos and see what we think about him, and maybe make fun of the, point out the fact that there are very few people that actually disagree with what he says, because that's like just so funny that he thinks that they're unpopular. They're not really at all. It's just so weird. Alright, so what do you want to talk about that now that's out of the way?
Okay, I reckon we should start on societal double standards.
Okay.
Between men and women.
So I kind of talked about this in the last episode somewhat. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before, but there is definitely like a double standard when it comes to men and women, like in multiple different ways. Like one thing that usually comes to mind is sex. Like, for example, like if they fuck multiple women, they're studs, but if women fuck multiple men, they're sluts.
Yeah, that's the big one. I think it's the big one.
One is viewed positively, or at least neutral at worst. The other one's viewed negatively. And I know they're like prudes that demonize men too for fucking multiple women, just like they demonize women, but it's much more likely that women are usually the ones that are getting demonized and not men. And what the fuck is up with this stupid, ridiculous double standard for men that they can fuck whoever they want but women? Oh, God forbid they fuck multiple men or whatever. It's wrong.
Yep.
So we gotta say about that.
Yeah, that's probably I definitely agree. That's the big one, I'd say.
It's usually
that's
like...
the big one. There's also a few workplace ones, I believe, as well.
There's also many that involve, like, men, too. Like, Kyle covered a video, making fun of Benny Boy, and he was saying, like, men are supposed to protect women, be, like, all chivalrous and all that. Like, Ben, shut the fuck up. You're actually being both misogynistic and misandrous in both directions. Why is it us men's responsibility to protect women? It's not our responsibility. And why is it that women need us men's protection? Both are wrong. How about that? Us men are not supposed to just blindly protect women, and women are not supposed to just blindly assume that us men are supposed to protect them. You gotta be able to defend yourself too, and we're not supposed to help each other like literally every single damn time. It's fucking stupid. And then, of course, we've also talked about the one double standard for men, which is conscription, remember?
Absolutely. That's horrific. That is terrible.
Yeah, that us men have to be conscripted in the army, but women do not. And yeah, we know there are a few countries that both men and women have to do conscription as well, but they're very rare, and even in those places, most of the times women are able to get out of it much easier than men. Like, I think it was, like, Israel, like, the biggest one they usually use is, like, I think women are able to get out like after a year or so, whereas men have to stay in for like 2 to 3 years or something like that, and they have no way to get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you gotta say about all these double standards and hypocrisies?
They're dumb. They're absolutely dumb.
And of course, a lot of it's mostly because of religion and conservatism and authoritarianism control, especially when it comes to sex with women, because you know conservatives do not like women being able to control their own bodies and do whatever they want, of course.
Yeah. Definitely not.
And then of course, they always keep saying, we gotta take men in because men are stronger than women. We need that strength in order to fight wars. Yeah, we're stronger, but that doesn't mean women can't be stronger either. Like, you gotta be able to see that too. Like, there are women that most certainly are strong. Hell, probably the strongest women would probably beat the absolute shit out of me, for God's sake. And I'm a fucking man. Yeah. Like, get the fuck out of here with this crap.
Yep.
Like, this shit needs to stop. Like, it's like, when it comes to, like, the sex, there's nothing positive or negative in the grand scheme of things if people want to fuck multiple people, for example. It's up to the individual. If they want to, go ahead. If they don't want to, go ahead. But why demonize them for what they want to do? And more importantly, why demonize almost always women for wanting to do shit that men do? Like, like almost all these double standards in the end just come back to women not being able to do what they want. And it's fucking stupid.
Yeah. And again, it's a stain of religion.
Yeah, it's mostly just religion and conservatism that's causing this BS problem. And sooner it dies off, the better we'll all be. So now what do you want to talk about next?
Alright, next up will be the California recall election.
Okay, so it was, I think, a week or so ago, California had a recall election. Now, of course, for all of you that don't know this, because they are actually pretty rare in America, a recall election is where people recall the person in power. And in this case, it was California's governor, Gavin Newsom. California actually has it, I think, since the 1900s, where they have it in the law where you can actually recall their governors and such. That actually happened. That's how Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor in 2003 because of a recall. Now, recalls are like very rare, and they're also usually very, very unsuccessful. Like the Schwarzenegger one is the only one that I know off the top of my head in America that a recall of a governor was successful.
Wow.
That's the only one off the top of my head, and I actually looked up recently, like, when the recall election happened about it, but I didn't put too much detail about it. Not all states have it, like Maryland, we don't have recall elections, unfortunately. Only a few states do. It's just California's, like, the main one, and stuff like that. So, of course, Newsom had a recall election this last week, and he won in a blowout to no one's surprise whatsoever. He had, like, almost 2/3 of the percent of the vote.
Yep.
With, like...
2/3 of the vote. Yeah, it was a 2-to-1. It was a 2-to-1 steamroll.
Which is funny because I think like a month before the election, it was almost tied.
Oh yes.
Now here's the big reason why it happened, because there was technically two elections in the same thing. The first one is, should we recall Newsom or not? And then the second question is, if we do recall him, who do we replace him with? And whoever had the plurality, not even the majority of the plurality of the votes, would become the next governor within 30 days. And of course, the one who did get the plurality most votes was Larry Elder, who is a dumb fucking libertarian Republican who's a dumb fucking piece of shit who didn't even want to run for governor, believe it or not. And yet people still voted for him.
Wow.
And then, of course, everyone was like fear-mongering. That's what really turned the election around, because when people found out, especially liberals in the state, found out, oh God, if Newsom is recalled, Larry Elder will take over, and that's what really turned it around to help Newsom win the recall.
Yep.
And of course, what do you have to say about it? Because I got a lot to say about it first.
Well, I mean, this wasn't a surprise. It still isn't going to be a surprise. All the Republicans are fleeing Cali because they think it's a friggin' like Marxist shithole.
A lot of liberals are actually leaving the state too, believe it or not.
Yeah, I've heard people be like, oh, there's an exodus from California. They're populating. Everybody is leaving because of the far left.
And other things too.
They make Stalin look like Hitler, or they make Marx look like Hitler.
So of course, I got a lot of things to say about this. One thing they kept saying, "Oh, this is just a Republican coup to take over." Not really. Newsom was very, very unpopular lead into the recall. Like, do you remember what happened to him in November of last year?
No, I do not.
This is what pretty much led to the recall. Back in November, he went to I think he did had like a birthday party at some big ass restaurant, and guess what?
Yes, now I remember.
Yeah, with all those massive COVID restrictions, but people were there with no mask, no safety distance, violated literally every state law about the COVID lockdown, all that, and he could not make any valid reason why he did that. And that just came across to people in a bad way. Oh, so you can violate the laws and have fucking parties at restaurants or whatever, but we fucking can't. Yeah, fuck you. Yep. Like, that really, really hurt him. And that happened to a lot of people in power, too, that they've just regularly violated the laws to please themselves, so everyone else had to suffer. And that really is what caused the recall election to happen. So it wasn't just Republicans. Pretty much everyone was involved in that, because he really did fuck up really, really badly in that regard. That was just very bad optics. And I'm fucking sick and tired of liberals going, we can't have Republicans take over, so we gotta defend Newsom at all costs, even when he fucked up in this regard. I'm fucking sick and tired of it.
He fucked up infinitely.
Like, you can't,
you could not fuck up any harder.
Like, you can't deny that that was just very bad. And then, of course, one thing that really, really pissed me off, and a lot of people on the left online did this, that they straight up said that there were only Republican options to replace Newsom if he was recalled. Well, guess what? I actually looked up the ballot, and guess what? There were a shit ton of Democrats, too, Libertarians, Independent. Hell, there was even a Green candidate on there. And the second person after Larry Elder was a fucking Democrat. So, liberals, in my experience online, straight up lied about the election, saying it was only going to be Republicans winning and shit like that. And that really also got on my nerves.
No, definitely not.
Like,
they would have gotten the proper, they've gotten the numbers to thing, that would have been even better.
Like, even if you want to buy the argument that, yeah, Newsom is a piece of shit, but we have to keep him in because we don't want the Republicans taking whoever, fine, whatever. But one thing I don't like is, don't fucking lie about it. Don't fucking defend him to an extreme extent. Don't fucking lie about the vote and all that. Like, God, this is the same shit with, like, Biden and Hillary, like, the last several years. People just straight up lie to the point to defend the candidate they want to make sure the other side doesn't win. And it's fucking pathetic.
Yeah.
So, of course, the question now is, what would you do in this situation if you were in California?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, Cali is a very safe blue district, so
state.
It'd be very unlikely that Newsom would
lose. But remember, it was 50-50 like a month before the election, so it was close at one point.
It'll probably come down to what time it goes.
That's it for you?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Like, for me, I would vote to recall him because that was really, really bad what he did. But I would have voted for possibly the Green candidate or any of the Democratic options. But if neither of them were progressive enough for me, or any sort of better than Newsom, I probably would have just not bothered whatsoever, especially since he was going to win in a blowout, so it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, let's not, like, make an excuse about him. What he did was really, really that bad. And the fact that the recall happened shows you how bad it was. And then another thing, too, is that really kind of got on my nerves a little bit, is that, people kept saying, oh, if Larry Elder wins, he's going to, like, destroy the state in an instant, and, like, Republicans are going to win forever and ever and ever and stuff like that. Like, no. First off, the California Congress or whatever it's super majority Democrat like it is in my state. So they were going to block everything he wanted to do. So he wouldn't even be able to really do anything. And also, he would only be in office until Newsom's term ended, which would be next year. So he actually he would have a re-election in 2022, and we know for a fact he would lose that easily. So he would be in office for like just a year, not being able to do anything. So, like, can you realize that maybe you're a little bit overinflating how bad he is when he can't really do anything?
We're being a bit hyperbolic, guys.
Yeah, you gotta understand that in some regards. Alright, so that's all I could say about it. I know Harry, he said he definitely would have voted for Newsom to stay. But you said, of course, it would depend on what happened for you, right?
Yeah.
Same goes for me.
I'm going to be looking at the polls, looking at the things and seeing what, and being like,
Alright, so I think we've talked enough about... So I think we talked enough about that. So now what do you want to talk about next?
Alright, Covidiots.
Oh my god, where's that video? We've been doing this for the last few months. Oh my god, I see I haven't updated episode 27 topics. But we've been making fun of the last several episodes. Covidiots, as we're calling them, COVID and idiot combined. Fucking idiots that deny like COVID at all costs and downplaying all this shit. Like refuse to wear a mask, refuse to get vaccinated and all that crap. And oh my god, Mike did, I think this is the video, did a 30-minute, almost 32-minute video of making fun of these idiots. Because this one is really fucking bad. This one was so bad I had to play it in the next episode. I even said it too, and my posted, this is too long to cover tonight, but it's just sad and rage-inducing. This is just pathetic. So, are you all ready to hear some more Covidiots? Here we go.
These are from the two states that I think have performed the worst from a policy standpoint when it comes to COVID-19, Texas and California, or excuse me, Texas and Florida. And it seems like the governors of these states, Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis, it seems like they're on the side of the virus, banning mask mandates in Florida.
Yeah, they actually did that. Remember, we covered that. Thankfully, in Florida, it was overturned. I don't know about Texas, though.
Yeah, that was overturned by a court. But I mean, banning mask mandates, imagine being so reckless that you would do something like...
what's it again?
In Florida, both Texas and Florida
in Texas and Florida that
banned mask mandates.
Yeah, they basically banned they hadn't just banned mask mandates, they banned masks.
And Florida's got overturned recently. I don't know about Texas though.
The most effective tool that helps contain this virus. So Florida schools are fighting the governor for getting masks. Let's watch a little bit of this. So this is basically before school. This is after school in Texas. So we're gonna get a little bit of like some backstory on the little issue and the consequences of what happens when you have bad policy.
Across the country, school board meetings have become the latest front in the national battle over masks.
If you would mind putting up the background for that would be appreciated.
In Leon County, Florida, the debate over mask incidents intensified last week after the school superintendent saw increasing student cases and then decided to up the governor's ban on mask mandates.
If you don't have to follow the governor's executive order, why would our children have to follow the ordinance?
Why do kids get forced to wear masks if it doesn't really work? This is why I keep the mask.
Oh no, that kid was brainwashed. That's so sad. This kid ripped up the...
Boy.
God, your parents are gonna kill you. I'm sorry, kid. Your parents are just gonna kill you if you refuse to wear a mask and all that. I'm just sorry. I feel so bad for you.
This poor kid. Like, I do not blame that kid. That kid is brainwashed by their parents. That's what that is. Because kids are too young to, like, really... Yeah, using that child for political purposes is so gross.
Floridians do support requiring masks in schools for students, teachers, and staff.
And look at that. 60% of Floridians say they do want mask mandates in schools.
Oh, good. They actually do want to wear masks.
I mean, that's pretty sad that's so low, but hey, DeSantis, the majority of your state don't agree with you. So how about you go eat dick and stop... oh, that's right, you got overturned, so eat dick again.
An executive order that Republican Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law says that parents should have the final say. Cases in Florida are some of the worst of the entire pandemic. Nearly a dozen other counties are defying DeSantis, and now a local judge is backing school officials.
It's not about politics. I'm not voting for president. I'm not running for re-election. I'm not thinking about running for president. I'm simply trying to keep our kids healthy, safe, and keep our schools open.
Which is a smart thing to do.
Did anything to make you about your decision to wear these masks?
No, that's absolutely the right thing to do.
And it's political when your numbers are shooting back up again.
But COVID is just a Chinese hoax, remember?
We have positions, my responsibility to protect the safety of children here in our community, and I do this. I'm taking this action, and I'm aware of the potential consequences of my behavior to be removed from office. At the end of the day, I'm protecting all my children.
The anti-mask parents are a small but vocal minority here. Only about 10% of parents have tried to opt their kids out of wearing them. What is it about the masks that you don't like?
Well, for my girls, I don't like because I think there's health issues for them. And also beyond that, I think it is, I support the legislation passed this summer for the parent bill of rights, which we have a right to that to make decisions for our kids.
So
what health problems are from wearing masks? The fuck?
Yeah. And anyway, things like lockdowns and that were enforced after a smallpox outbreak until everyone vaccinated. So eat a dick. Eat a dick, stupid.
Yep.
There's precedent for it.
Caused health problems. I'm sure that she prevents her children from wearing masks during Halloween, right? I mean, this is not a serious person, and you know, she's gonna raise her kids with her dumb luck ideas. Her kids are gonna grow up with dumb luck ideas, raise their kids with dumb luck ideas, and the cycle of stupidity will continue to perpetuate ad infinitum. It's so sad.
Mental health.
Are you worried at all that your kids may get sick at school and get coronavirus?
They could, but they could get flu. They could pull a lot of things, like, you know.
Evil.
Oh my god, the flu!
You fucking COVID, bitch.
Oh my god,
you'll pass it on to your innocent kid.
You do know the flu and COVID are not the same thing. One is not going to kill you as much as COVID does, you fucking dumb cunt. Oh my god.
Yep.
I don't even have kids and I don't want them, but I would be a much better parent than you would, you dumb cunt.
A bad parent. Like, it's a bad parent. What a dumb fucking person. Like, the flu and a cold is different than COVID-19, you moron. You absolute fucking moron.
Oh, sadly enough right now, I do have a cold. But guess what? It's not going to kill me like COVID is, you fucking moron.
Jesus Christ. Doesn't even care about her kids' health. Just wants to make a statement, right? Jordan Sheridan made a really great point about something time. Says this isn't even like about masks or the pandemic or about vaccines. Like, this is a cultural war issue. She identifies with the right, and because they're anti-mask, she's anti-mask. Like, it's all about team politics. And she doesn't even give a fuck that her kid gets sick. She doesn't care. She's a bad parent.
That they can get sick. And again, my daughter, 8 years of rare disease. We, as parents, have made medical decisions that are...
Your daughter has a rare disease, and you don't want kids to wear masks around her. Holy shit. Like, these people are so fucking brain dead. So brain dead.
Yeah.
Imagine being so...
But conservatives be like, but you're ableist for calling us that.
Even though they're the ones
who are ableist.
Has a rare disease, I don't know what disease she says, but has a rare disease and you're on the side of the anti-maskers. Like this lady, I'm surprised that she's not dead right now. Like this level of stupidity, think that she forgets to breathe at some point and just like suffocating randomly. Yes, it's brain dead, exactly. Like what a fucking moron. I hope she sees this, and I hope she feels like she's not gonna see this, but if she does see this, I genuinely hope that her feelings are hurt, and she reads her life message. Like you're fucking stupid.
And we do feel like it's in our best interest, and you know, take risks that we feel like are okay to take, and we know that's the take.
Yeah, that's a good question. When is a child endangerment? Because that's what it seems like, right? That's what it seems like, child endangerment.
Yeah.
But the mask wars are not
That's my right as a parent. I mean, consider that anything. We know it's my kid, I had this kid, so it's my right as a parent to like around my kid. It's my right as a parent to chop my kid's arm off. I mean, consider that about anything. You being a parent doesn't mean that you can endanger your kid.
More than stopping COVID. Republicans around the country, from Congress to local races, are stoking anger over masks for political advantage. It could work. In 2010, lies about Obamacare and so-called death panels helped clear the way for a midterm Tea Party win in Congress. The 2022 midterms are just around the corner. And
you can imagine some sort of like anti-mask, anti-vax, like rush in Congress. Not rush wave, excuse me, Congress. I mean, if you thought that one margarine was enough, imagine getting like 50.
I actually don't know about that because that was also another big reason why Newsom won, even in a big blue state like California, is because they were the population was afraid that Larry Elder was going to remove the mask mandates and all that stuff that they have.
That's what I was thinking.
So who knows if COVID's still a big thing in this point in 2022? That might not work actually this time around. We just don't know.
This is up for re-election in Florida next year. That's not lost on some parents in Tallahassee. Do you think that Governor DeSantis put out that executive order a few months ago because of politics?
Yes. He knows his base. And he knows that people put him in there. He has presidential ambitions. And he knows he has to appeal the same things as Donald Trump.
Republicans in Florida being so callous, being such a sociopath, that you endanger the lives of children. Also, it can help you get elected. How disgusting. Yeah, exactly. Fuck these parents.
But that's what Republicans always do. You know that, Mike.
They are terrible people and exactly. I mean, this is child endangerment. Like, I feel like anyone who's on camera talking about how they don't want, kids to wear masks during a pandemic, like, there's something going on there, right? The local authorities should investigate. Because that is, they're not right in the heads. Like, you shouldn't have a kid if you're this reckless, if you're this stupid. Like, do they forget to feed their children? I mean, people shouldn't have little fucking children.
An advantage, too. Florida's Education Commissioner Richard Corcoran is executing DeSantis' directive, even withholding pay from some school officials going against the governor. I've always heard that Republicans and conservatives on small government letting local government decide. That's the governor's executive order. Kind of contrary to that, why do you let these school officials, superintendents, some of them are elected, decide what's best for their communities?
The most greatest, most powerful, most informed, best local government is there. And with the governor...
You can see already in this video that we've seen so many parents that are not well informed, you idiot. like that one dumb Karen we saw earlier, like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And
it makes me think like, my super right to wear masks My right to not wear a mask is because of my God-given right to breathe oxygen or something.
And yeah, as this reporter point out, what is it with you fucking Republicans that are always hypocritical on business rights and stuff like that? You're okay with business not allowed to serving cakes to gay people, but now all of a sudden, like, businesses and schools want to have mask mandates. Now you're against that? What's up with that, buddy? Guess what? Business is rights. So if they don't want to serve you because you refuse to wear a mask, too bad. Wear a mask. Just like you say gay couples can't get cakes from homophobic bakers. Deal with it. Your own policy, not ours.
Last week, there were 20,000 new coronavirus cases in people under age 12. An additional 17,000 cases were reported from people aged 12 to 19. Is it acceptable for students in the state to get sick because their school didn't do everything possible to protect them?
If the parents are dumb fucks. I mean, if the parents here are very stupid, which seems like that percentage of mandates are, sorry, I think that the state has a responsibility to intervene and take action to protect that child, right? There's a reason why vaccines have been mandatory before your child is able to go to elementary school. There's a reason why there are certain requirements, right?
Another thing, too, is a concern. I don't know if it's the case anymore, but wasn't it still that there's no COVID vaccine that's safe yet for kids under 12? Because that used to be a case for a while.
They're testing about one-third dose for Pfizer to be effective for kids.
So yeah, that's another thing too. These
5 to 12.
That's another thing too. You people need to understand. Kids can't get vaccinated like us adults, so they're even at more of a risk. For God's sake, that's why you need to take every precaution. But, of course, these Covidiots don't give a shit about kids, remember?
There's a reason why child protection services exist. If your parent doesn't give you a blank check to treat your child as some sort of fucking, like, I don't know, piece of trash. Like, you have to actually take care of your kid in a competent manner. If you endanger them, if you abuse them, the state intervenes. So, no, parents don't have unlimited autonomy.
And many districts just started just opening Monday. All right, so those statistics were well before our larger districts opened. So what happened is these kids coming into the school system and coming in COVID positive and giving COVID to other kids. And a reason that happens a lot with kids and not so much with adults is because there's so many of them are asymptomatic, and so they come in.
Hence the reason why you wear masks, you fucking moron.
Exactly, Mike.
Yeah.
Here's the
other thing. Okay, yeah, kids get sick from COVID. Guess what? They're also super spreaders.
Like, even for me, for example, although we don't know for sure, me and my mother do think me and my family got COVID July of last year. And if that indeed happened, we had no symptoms, not that I know of. So, even though I wear my mask all the time, like we all did going outside, but like if I did have COVID and we went out without masks, we could have spread it for all we know. Like, that's why you need to wear a mask, you idiot, just in case, so you don't get...
One of my other friends on another server, he actually, he was coughing really badly for about 3 days. What was that? Hang on, I'm going to check something. And then you keep this going, I'm going to check.
More infectious, so we're seeing.
Which is why we wear masks, right? Like, I'm waiting for him to say what is common sense, but it's not coming, folks. He supports the Ron DeSantis mask ban.
Because he's a retard.
Teachers out there that are saying, here's things that we're going to do, whether it's sanitation, whether it's social distancing, those things that matter. They really matter. What doesn't really matter is masks.
So just...
The dumb fuckery is almost too much for my brain to process.
Masks don't matter!
He knows that the Delta variant is more infectious, but it's no sanitation for an airborne disease. That matters more than masks to prevent the droplets from traveling. What do you even say to this? Like, does this dude trip every single morning because he ties his shoelaces together? I just, this level of stupidity, and this man is the head of the State Department of Education. It's too much.
For you or something, you haven't seen any evidence or studies that show that masking kids helps keep them safe?
Tell me what.
I'm asking you. I'm not a commissioner.
I'm telling you, we've been at this for 18 months. It just feels like Groundhog Day. It's like people who were here last year, same thing, same parents.
And you haven't gotten it through your thick skull yet that masks are effective. Jesus fucking Christ. What a moron. What a fucking smooth-brained prick. Like this.
That's what all conservatives are.
Paranoia, same, outrage, everything. I mean, I don't want to be conspiratorial because there's too much of
You don't want to be conspiratorial. No. Conspiracy theories, folks. Like masks don't work. That's not a conspiracy theory. Holy shit, this dude's blowing my fucking mind.
$0 to $42 billion is spent, and none of it to study masks in children. I think it's because the general medical community knows they don't work.
The general health community doesn't agree that masks work. What a fucking lie. By the way, do I need to remind y'all we're only 13 minutes into this 32-minute video? Not even halfway.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit. It has to be exhausting to be that fucking stupid. To be that dense. I mean, there's not enough oxygen being pumped to his brain. Like, something isn't working there. Like, what a fucking moron. So then we go to Texas here, where they reopen schools. And let's see how that's panning out. He's been having his own farts. for so long that his brain actually died. Legitimately. Like, he literally probably huffs farts, his own farts.
Good morning, Covidiots. Good morning, boys. It's the first day of school. Are you half asleep? Are you excited about school today? Did I get early so you can get on the bus? You're gonna pass out.
The new school year is arriving in Texas right alongside the state's third wave of COVID-19.
It's important that you guys remember that when you're inside, you should still wear your mask.
Since the spring, Republican Governor Greg Abbott...
And this is what we call actual smart, responsible parenting. That should be accredited everywhere.
...has opposed public health measures like distancing and vaccine requirements.
This is what good parenting looks like, where you explain to your children, make sure you wear masks when you're inside. Like, these people act like if they explain to their children during a pandemic that wearing a mask is really important, their kid's head is going to pop off. No, your kids understand it, and you can make it a fun thing. Get your kid like a colorful mask, or a Paw Patrol mask, or a Pokemon mask. I don't fucking know, but your kid's going to survive if you tell them that wearing a mask is important. I mean, if your kid can't take, news like this, then your kid would survive, right? Like, when I was a kid, my mom had to explain to me that I needed to get vaccines, or we needed to go to the doctor, or, you take your kids to a dentist. It's just frustrating.
Even signed an executive order banning mask mandates in schools.
First day of school! First day of school! Woohoo! First day of school! Got it? Yeah, 400. Awesome. Let's go!
That order still stands as the aggressive Delta variant ravages the state, and more than 700 kids have been hospitalized. And in August, the Texas Education Agency lifted any requirements to notify parents of positive cases at school.
So yeah, my daughter isn't super into anime, so she has a whole collection of anime masks. Sandra, right? That's like, you can make it a fun thing. That's what I don't understand. It's like, these parents, they have, superimposed their own feelings about masks onto their children. Where if you're a good parent, you can convince your kid to put on a mask. Like, if you explain to them, like, most kids can understand, yes, there's this illness going around, it's airborne, and we all have to wear masks, and we have to protect our friends and family members. They'll get it. I mean,
it's called being a smart parent.
Some of these so-called parents who are so
smart parents.
They're using, they're
God, I'd probably be, like I said, I think in the last episode, I'd probably be even more strict, though. I probably wouldn't even let my kids go to school until they're able to get vaccinated, because I would probably be that concerned.
Use their kids as political footballs. I'll make a fucking point.
When Governor Abbott first announced that he wasn't going to be forcing kids to be wearing masks in school, what was your initial reaction?
I would say I was angry. It just seemed purely...
And you're right to be angry.
...political, and the fact that the state and the local authorities have been, sort of going back and forth literally up until the 11th hour. I mean, everything's going, up in the air right now, and so I think parents are, just doing the best they can, but this is not exactly what I wanted my son's first day of kindergarten to be about, but this is where we're at.
How have you explained to him the reasons behind why he needs to wear a mask?
Oliver has asthma. He understands how that feels to not be able to breathe. So, just explain that you can wear a mask to help protect yourself and help protect other people around you. I'm scared for him.
And it's that simple. Like, this conversation that she's explaining, it's so simple. It's so simple. But imagine some other, right-wing parent using their kid's asthma as a justification to not want masks, as that other lady did from Florida. Oh, my kid has some illness, so, we are really going to take her health into our hands. It's just, this is not complicated. It shouldn't be complicated. It shouldn't be politicized.
You don't want to show your child that you're...
Well, you definitely gotta blame Trump for that one, remember, as we talked about previously.
Scared for them, you want them to be excited for school, and you certainly don't want to hold them back, but yeah, just the unknown is scary at this point.
Texas has the largest number of school districts in the country. It also has the most counties. Without mandates from the state, each of those is having to set its own health policies. Over 50 districts and 9 counties are still requiring masks in schools. Some, like Dallas, have gone to court to defy Abbott's orders. But crossing to neighboring McKinney, and it's up to parents.
There's Leah! My little violin player.
And also, interesting fact for these Covidiots, the Delta variant is not only much more transmissible, it's 50% deadlier.
But remember, it's just a Chinese hoax, remember?
I really appreciate it, Thank you so much. You were so kind. I don't deserve it because I wish.
I mean, how many fucking, as Kyle's covered, how many fucking conservative radio hosts have to die before you get for your head that it's a real thing that you need to take seriously?
All of them?
Even that won't be enough, remember?
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
My orchestra girl.
Now, we all saw a good parent. Are you ready to see probably the worst parent? Even that Karen bitch earlier is not as bad as this one.
Hi, Leah. How are you? Good to see you. How was school? Good. Yes. So what happened with your orchestra directors? Did you have us out today?
Yeah, they're out until Tuesday.
Did they tell you why?
They got exposed to COVID.
Oh, dear.
Anyone who's going to school during these insane times, whether it's, high school, college, elementary school, I feel so bad for you. I feel so privileged to have been able to finish school during non-pandemic times. Like, I could not imagine dealing with this. Like, being a hypochondriac that I am, I couldn't imagine this. Like, I feel so bad for these folks. So bad.
What was school like for both of you last year?
It was...
yeah, I don't blame you, Joe. I really don't blame you. It's so hard. I mean, it's non-stop worrying about this. And not just worrying if somebody else is exposed to COVID-19 who was in contact with you, but worrying if other people around you are, hostile towards you if you wear a mask. It's so mentally taxing.
A very frustrating year. They were separated at lunch, social distancing, had to have masks on all times.
What was that like for you? I mean, being in a mask all the time at school?
It was really hard because I felt like it was affecting my learning. Like, I didn't see my teacher's face where they were sitting.
Really? Affecting your learning by having a mask on? What?
What was that? I missed that.
She said, her having the mask on affected her learning. Let's replay it.
Being in a mask all the time at school?
It was really hard.
Here.
separated lunch, social distancing, have masks on all times.
What was that like for you? I mean, being in a mask all the time at school?
It was really hard because I felt like it was affecting my learning. Like I couldn't see my teacher saying sometimes.
I was suspended from school for not wearing a mask. I was suspended. Good.
At least she's wearing glasses and it's fogging her glasses up. That's about the only thing I can think of.
And she got suspended for not wearing her mask. Oh, boo-hoo.
They were suspended for not wearing masks.
They were suspended from school. And that was after Greg Abbott. He said no more masks.
I mean, when you're that age, when you're in high school, yeah, I mean, you kind of should be suspended. There should be consequences, right? If you're
yeah, you're not a kid anymore, so it's not like you can get out of it. You know the requirements, and you know the dangers of COVID, so yeah, you need to wear a mask. It ain't that hard.
Kid? There's going to be mistakes, right? You're going to have to remind them if they're in 3rd grade, for example, pull up your mask. But at this age, sorry, there's got to be consequences.
In Texas.
I feel like that's been one of the big contention points throughout the state is that there's a lot of confusion between what Governor Abbott is, signing executive orders to do, what the lower courts are saying to do, what school districts are saying that you should do. How do you navigate this very confusing situation?
I'm totally for local control. But here's the thing. Whatever policy they make, for their health, whatever, it cannot violate the rights of the parents or the right.
Oh, shut up, you
dumb. The rights of the kids to not get infected with a potentially deadly disease.
Guess what? If you abuse your kid's taken away from you. And seeing how these parents lately have been treating their kids with COVID, maybe they should have them taken away because you're endangering them, you idiots.
Her daughter violated the mask. You can already tell, the rhetoric that she's using, the rights. Just let's predict where this is headed, folks.
It's in the student.
So Leah, last year, when you were finally able to go back to school in person, if someone did pop up in school and they tested positive for COVID, were you and other students notified?
Yeah, if you were in the classroom sitting next to the person, then they would email your parents and you, and you would have to quarantine for a week or 2.
What are your thoughts on that policy?
Yeah, I don't think we should even do contract tracing because I think it was a waste of money.
So you wouldn't want to
know? No contract tracing either. Fucking idiot.
Have been in contact with anyone that might test positive?
No, it doesn't.
I find that with me, with my country, but with a bit under 2,000 cases, we have a problem with, and they're having problems with contact tracing.
Tracing, I think it was a waste of money.
So you wouldn't want to know if Leah had been in contact with anyone that might test positive?
No, it doesn't. To me, they're just sitting by somebody. I don't think they're going to get really sick.
That's how a fucking airborne virus works. Are you stupid?
You dumb fuck.
Jesus. Yeah, contact tracing, waste of money. These people are so dumb.
So I'm not worried. I'm really not worried.
Can you walk me through some of the documents you have?
Yeah, so this is a grievance form. We got really good at learning the grievance forms. We filled out
anti-mask Karen, all the complaints that you filed.
Based on all of our research, we typed up a whole religious exemption here.
And so, oh my god, lady, get fucked. As I watch this, I'm getting more angry. Fuck this lady. Fuck this Karen. Fuck your ugly little bracelet.
For the religious exemption, what were you saying?
Basically, it's nothing to do with I'm Catholic, I'm Christian, I'm Mormon. It's about your strongly held belief. That's the way the Supreme Court looks at this.
My imaginary friend says I should not be allowed to wear the mask. So how about that? Fucking idiot.
Our conviction here is that God gave myself and my children the ability to choose for ourselves what is best for our own health, and that He gave us an immune system. It needs to be exposed naturally to pathogens.
My strongly held belief is that anytime I'm around someone who's wearing leopard print, I feel the urge to vomit. So I believe that I should have the freedom to not be around people who wear leopard print. This is the logic, right? That this is the stupidity, the simplistic nature of her thinking. What a moron.
That masks can actually harm our health by trapping bacteria inside.
Oh my god, so this is a full-on...
Yeah,
God made it. Annoying and God made me this gigantic person who can't handle a piece of cloth over his face, and clearly trained my children to be pieces of shit as well, to take out their masks to the point where they get suspended in school. I mean, I'm imagining that her daughter didn't just accidentally take off her mask for a minute. She probably was being a little fucker, and the teacher was like, okay, fuck this, you're gonna be suspended now. And you see why when you look at who's raising her, this absolute fucking dickhead lady.
So we should not be wearing masks.
Do you think if one of you did contract COVID and it was pretty severe and did send you to the hospital, it would change your mind about any of the beliefs that you do have now?
No, it wouldn't change my view at all. Because.
Oh, really? Well, you're dumber than the people that had COVID that denied it and survived, thankfully. They're a lot smarter than you, but hey, if you want to take it and die, go right ahead. You don't look like someone that can handle it very well if you got it, dummy.
Everybody has the freedom, should have the freedom themselves to choose the best for their health, the best for...
I do not wish death on anyone, but I have read several obituaries with great pleasure.
Nobody should be told they have to do this.
Ask her position on abortion. Ask her. Oh, well, when it comes to that, yeah, we should ban that. I hate these people. I feel bad for this girl because she's going to be raised to be a gigantic prick just like her mother. You can tell she's instilling it in her kids already.
The front line of the bitter fight over public health measures is here. School board meetings. Round Rock School District in Central Texas straddles 2 different counties, one that requires masks and one that doesn't.
We must mandate masks for all students and staff on our campus.
If you want to wear a mask, the choice is yours. Don't take my freedoms away as a parent.
Look at this fucking petulant little child. Wearing a mask is about all of us, right? It's not just, oh, well, I wear a mask so I'm protected. That's not the way that it works. We all wear masks so we stop the spread of this virus.
To do what is best for my children.
Do your kids wear seatbelts?
Right? Thank you.
So what brought you both out here today?
We want to make sure that everybody's safe is our ultimate goal. Children are dying already, and we don't want that to happen to our kids.
And that's being like a good parent, having to deal with these dumb fucks. Like, I can't imagine how exhausting it is to be this woman right here, or this woman, and like think, man, this is what I have to deal with. These are the people I have to compete with, who are like almost in tears as they describe like how it impedes their freedom to like make them wear masks. Like, I couldn't deal with it.
Are dying already, and we don't want that to happen to our kids.
I mean, you could laugh at the mic like I always do because they're fucking retarded, but then you'd be offended by me saying the R word.
What happens if the school board decides no masks? What do you do?
I don't know. I just know that my children are not going into a school building on Wednesday.
Yep, same with me too.
I don't know what that means for us.
Like, these parents are put in such impossible positions, right? This doesn't have to be a big thing. Masks should just be like a no-brainer. It's the most basic thing, the least like intrusive thing that you can do to mitigate the spread of the virus. But the fact that that is, you know, up for debate is so frustrating. I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know what I would do. I don't like homeschool. I think that kids really benefit from the socialization. But at this point in time, like, I wouldn't want to send my kid to school with all these other kids who are like taught to be assholes, you know, and you know, not look out for others, not give a shit about anyone but yourself.
It's like me and my husband, we're still trying to figure this out, but they will not be going into a Roanoke school building when school starts.
He was up here about look at these dirty ass masks he wore all year. He was sick all year. He was sick all year. No disrespect here, I'm not gonna ever tell me to shut my...
Look at these dirty ass masks that my kid wore all year. That sounds like an issue that you could correct. Get your kids disposable masks or wash them. Like, what a fucking idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, like my mother washes our masks all the time. It ain't that hard.
I mean, like, those reusable masks, as Art's saying, like, do you not wash them? I don't get it.
And now shut your mouth. Yeah.
I have been in the American for more than 20 years. I work in my whole life. I personally feel so disappointed with the American government. I have 4 pages of facts and research ready to show us you exactly this actually produced these days.
They're all the same. Like, these anti-maskers, like, they're all the same. They have their pages of their, like, InfoWars, misinformation, Facebook being bullshit. They all have that, like, crazy look in their eyes. They're all fucking insane.
My life, my choice. Let me just tell you that.
But not abortion, though. We should ban that.
This district can't afford the lawsuit. That will come.
If the board wants to see COVID rip through the vaccine scientific qualifier, there's no better way for you to do it than to not require masks or quickly build yourself 14 months.
At 3 in the morning, after hundreds of speakers, the board finally voted that masks will be mandated, but with one major catch. Parents can simply opt out.
Pointless there.
Those who wanted an actual mandate will must
it makes the mask mandate pointless if they can opt out of it, you idiots. You can't compromise with these people. That's effectively not having the mask mandate at all. Come on.
Yeah, you might as well not have the, like I said, might as well not have the mandate at all. Nobody's going to listen to it ever.
As the back-to-school battle wears on, many people in one worker group feel the afterthought. Teachers.
As educators, we advocated for virtual learning in the beginning. We wanted our educators to get the vaccine. We wanted more class sizes.
Yeah, very, very frustrating. Yeah, mandatory optional masks, right? Like, what is the point? What is the fucking point? This pandemic has been so depressed. Like, man, these people are so fucking dumb.
It was definitely fun to laugh at these idiots, but God, yeah. You should not be having kids, and you probably should have them taken away from them if you're this irresponsible. So what do you have to say about Covidiots this time?
Oh, jeez. It's these people as to why COVID is resurging across the planet.
Yeah, you guys are the reason. You guys that are the reason why COVID's still around. If you fucking wear your mask, if you fucking got your vaccine, and all that crap, that'll make COVID less likely to be around, quicker to go away, and then you won't have to worry about this stuff anymore. But no, you continue to be stubborn, you continue to die, you continue to keep COVID going around, which affects all of us. So, I appreciate that. Everyone appreciates it. Not really. So now that we've made fun of these Covidiots, and please don't end up like these people. God, they're so dumb. Now what do you want to talk about next?
The Covidiots, I believe we have AUKUS. Oh, God.
Well, this affects you. So anyways, AUKUS, which is AUKUS, is a new military alliance and military sharing pack between America, the UK, and Australia, where America and the UK are going to help Australia have nuclear-powered submarines in the few decades in the future. So, of course, since this involves you, maybe you know more about it?
Yep. So basically, we're going to be sharing military and nuclear-related technology with the UK and the US, and entrenching the three of them into the Murdoch fascist triumvirate that Murdoch wants to make, and this is just another step towards that. We ripped up a $90 billion deal with France over so that we could do this.
Yeah, and that was like the biggest.
Actually, so mad. But they're actually they were threatening. They're actually going through with sabotaging Australia's EU trade deal. Trade deal with the EU. They are literally sabotaging it.
Yeah, this deal was supposed to be like the combat China, which no idea how much effective that would be, but France had a deal with Australia for like a few years ago and nothing really made progress on it. So Australia did make a deal with the UK and America, and France is fucking so mad they're basically having a meltdown with all three of us.
Oh, they're mad. They're mad. They hate it.
Yep, fucking fierce. It's fine. They're even more mad than supposedly China is. I haven't heard any complaints from China whatsoever about this. Have you?
A bit. There's a bit. It was a bit. Because it was a bit. We've also annoyed, gotten a few people in our region very nervous as well.
Yeah, the point of this is so Australia would be the first country ever to have nuclear-powered submarines, but not be a nuclear-powered country, and it's like America and UK's way to offshore Australia's responsibility to keep an eye on China down there, just like they use Japan in the East Pacific area, pretty much. And I don't know how effective that will be, especially since those submarines I've seen could take the earliest possible 10 years to make even just one of them, because you guys have no expertise whatsoever at making nuclear-powered subs. So America and UK not only have to share the information how to do it, they have to actually help make them for you.
Yep.
So.
Now we have a few places that can build ships in South Australia and Western Australia. So we actually do.
But there's a concern that this could maybe like jumpstart like an arms race with China and all that in the area. No idea how much that
was in the Asia Pacific region.
I don't know how much that would be. And I'm also that people keep saying this is like an alliance. Seems more like a military sharing thing, because I mean America's already allied with both countries, pretty much. Remember?
It's even more thing. It's well, we're the three countries that Murdoch controls through their through the media. So as you can tell, a lot of the thing.
Because I know America and like the West are trying to make like some sort of NATO in the Pacific to combat China, and they're trying to bring back Quaid. If you ever heard of that.
Quaid.
It wasn't an alliance or military thing, however. It was something that happened right after the Indiana tsunami, and it was like a military thing. It was like a military like agreement between America, Australia, Japan, and India, and they're trying to revive that as like some sort of like Pacific NATO. So what do you have to say about this deal, though?
I don't like it much, honestly. It's
you think it's probably unnecessary?
Ripped off a $90 billion deal, pissed off France, and sabotaged a trade deal with the EU. And then again, that's typical of our fucking government. Can't organise a piss up in a brewery.
You think it's probably unnecessary too to have the nuclear-powered subs?
Yep.
And probably also instigate China too. And I don't really know what to say about it, though. Because we're not going to know really the effects of it, like the submarines, until like another decade or so.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like really weird how that popped up lately. And I find more funny that France is having more of a meltdown than China over it.
Well, it was the $90 billion deal we had with them that we ripped up.
Yep. Alright, so I think we've talked enough about that. So now, I guess you want to talk about the topic that you posted.
Yes. Sam Harris and versus not Harvey Weinstein, Brett Weinstein.
On COVID-19 and Ivermectin or whatever.
Yes.
So basically, I guess Weinstein is being like COVID conspiracy crap. Alright, so what happened this time?
Brett Weinstein with Alex Jones comparison. listens. I'm going to be clicking around a bit to find the clips in particular. I just hope that this will come through lovely enough to actually...
Or you could just post the clips on here.
Alright. There it is.
Oh, it's... majority report. Alright.
Oh, God. Alright. Give me a moment. Let's see.
You're still looking for something?
Oh, I thought the stupid thing muted. Okay, so about 2:35 is where you'd want to start the first clip.
I want to give
2:35. Here we go.
You know, go ahead.
And we would all learn from the two of you learning from each other. Thank you.
Hey Corey, thanks for the question. Yeah, this is a hard one for me actually, and I get that it seems crazy not to just flip on the microphone and talk to the guy. We talk to him and Heather, who's also been his partner in crime. It's hard to put this in a way that doesn't sound like a personal attack, but the reason why I don't want to do a podcast with Brett and Heather is the same as why I wouldn't do a podcast with a 9/11 truth conspiracy theorist or Alex Jones or anyone in that world. There's a basic asymmetry, which is very hard to overcome. It's so much easier to make a mess than to clean it up. It's so much easier to light several small fires than to put them out. It's like a 10-to-1 advantage. To put it that way, it sounds like my concern is not losing a debate, and that's absolutely not my concern. If you're going to view this as a debate, it's won almost immediately. But I worry about what people take from the encounter, and I just don't want to do additional harm to our public conversation about what is in fact an important public health concern and a growing political one. First, the asymmetry, the reason why there's such an asymmetry here is that it is just impossible to debunk most things in real time. And even if the point being made is in fact spurious, it won't seem spurious to 99% of an audience. Right, so the person on the conspiracy theory side of things could say, well, what about the 14 CDC officials who resigned last week and wouldn't give reasons when asked? What do you make of that? Right now, there's probably nothing to be made of that, right? I didn't even hear about it. The truth is I just made that up. But when delivered in the context of a, quote, debate about these things, with someone whose whole angle is there's conspiracy everywhere, it can seem like, oh, you didn't know about that. Well, that's clearly a problem. You should look into that. What about the paper that just came out of Micronesia that showed ivermectin was 100% effective? I didn't see that paper out of Micronesia. Oh, you didn't? Well, okay, you should really do your homework.
Positive. What I found fascinating about this was this is exactly what Amanda Montell was talking about yesterday on the program, right? Those phrases, you should do research, they call it the conversation ender, or the shade conversation stopper, yeah, something like that. And the hallmark of these conspiracy theorists. I found that very interesting. But continue here, because where he's going here is really fascinating to me. He goes on and he says, and he says to his credit, like I'm not even the person to go on that. We would bring on an expert who has all of the information at their faculties, at their points. But he goes on to say, and maybe he says it in here, and I don't want to jump that, where he says like, there's some things you don't say in public. Is that the part of it? At one point he says, and we'll play some more of this. But at one point he says, it's one thing for you not to get the vaccine. It's a personal choice, and it is what it is. But it's another to go out there and ostensibly ruminate about this stuff. There's some things you do not say in public.
As a broadcaster.
As a broadcaster, whatever.
Somebody with influence.
And maybe I'm extrapolating, but you also don't say it in public because of context, right? That public is not just in terms of how many people can hear it. It also is the circumstance of the public at that time. It's one thing to say 10 years from now, ivermectin, we should look into. Or 5 years ago to talk about ivermectin might be something that people would have, obviously. But when you say it now, and you talk about it in the context of everything that's going on politically.
Now, like post-vaccine.
Post-vaccine, where ivermectin is not just ivermectin, it is the solution that is used is deployed to convince people that the vaccine is unnecessary. This all is important. Now, so I want you to listen to this last part, and I want you to just keep in mind what I've just said about context.
It's joking by people like that.
About these things.
People.
What'd you say?
Ivermectin. It's the new hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah.
And we're finding more and more scientific evidence that it does not work.
But Daddy Trump or whoever said it did for him, so shut it, libtard. How about that? And of course, Rogan, remembered, also did this too for him.
Yep.
Yeah, is there any more to this clip that we need to play? Like more spat?
I think there's one further in, but I've got to look around a bit.
But yeah, guys, you need to not really take these anecdotes, like, seriously. You need to listen to the health experts. If they say that the vaccine works... If the vaccine works, and they say it does, you need to just take that and just trust them. They know what they're talking about. You don't. And the anecdotes that you deal with also don't know what they're talking about. Or they're not going to be the representation of everyone else.
A bit more Sam Harris telling about 8 minutes in.
Alright, 8 minutes.
no matter how reasonable and attentive to caveats they can seem, and I will grant you they can seem incredibly reasonable, they do not seem like Alex Jones. And this is why what they're doing is so insidious. But the basic message, the basic implication of everything they say, and the apparent reason behind everything they're saying, is the belief that these COVID vaccines are dangerous, and you should be worried about them. You should be profoundly hesitant to take them. These are not normal vaccines. And in fact, the pushing of these vaccines on the public is colossally unethical. That is what they are messaging. Right? They've said as much explicitly on their own podcast.
Unsafe! Even though all the health experts beg to differ on that one.
I should get the actual language.
Yep.
Hold on.
Even though we've had over 1 billion doses of COVID.
And found the transcript of Brett's confabulation on this topic. He's talking about the absolute scandal of the suppression of the life-saving knowledge of ivermectin and the pushing of the vaccines. On his own podcast, where he's talking to a Dr. Corey, the podcast itself is titled The Crime of the Century. And they're going back and forth about how nefarious the machinations must be to have produced this policy. Dr. Corey says all the pipeline molecules, the stuff that's coming that they want to bring to market, are also there, right? And then Brett says, which have had a tremendous investment made in them. The thing I think we're almost certain to get wrong is that as outsiders, we have no idea what these conversations sound like on the inside. There's a temptation to imagine that people are somehow sitting around comfortable with the fact that their behavior is going to cause hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of deaths. That may stick humanity with a relationship with a pathogen that will not be able to shake because it will prevent us from taking the appropriate action until it's too late. We imagine that people are saying these things out loud, when I'm sure there are some sociopaths in the system who are probably capable of having those discussions, but there aren't enough sociopaths to account for this behavior. There's some way that people who are doing a harm great enough. I've called it the crime of the century, and I realize the century is young, but this is going to be hard to top. It's going to be hard to top. There's some way that people who are engaged in something worthy of a claim like the crime of the century are comfortable with what they're doing, or worse, are convinced it's the right thing, that somehow the greater good is being served. Look, I mean, here you have it in fairly crystalline form, the conspiratorial thinking, the outrageous claims about death and destruction due to these vaccines, and the suppression of ivermectin for purely mercenary reasons. The problem, of course, is that there's no reason to think this is true. Right? There is no reason to think that ivermectin is a surrogate for getting vaccinated. And there's no reason to think that people should be terrified of getting these vaccines. And that is the message that Brett is spreading hour by hour by hour. Whereas the truth is, keep going a little bit. Keep going a little more. We have a head-to-head comparison between 3 cohorts of people, tens of millions, hundreds of millions in some cases. Those who have been vaccinated, those who have caught COVID without being vaccinated, those who have caught COVID having been vaccinated. And we know the outcomes. We know them well enough to know that you're far better off being vaccinated and eventually catching COVID, as you will, than catching it without having been vaccinated.
I think another another thing I've been thinking about too is, have you always been under the impression, because I know for a fact millions of others have been under this impression too when it comes to vaccines. Have you been under the impression, at least that's what I've been told as well when it came to like vaccines, that if you take them, that it would be like straight up impossible to get like the causes that you get from the vaccine. Like if someone took the COVID vaccine, it would be straight up impossible to ever get COVID for like a long period of time. Have you ever had that thought?
Quite, but it is a lot more. But it does massively reduce, at least in the case of Pfizer and Moderna, for a while, your chances of getting infected. And if you do get it, it's going to be, you're going to be either minor symptoms or even asymptomatic.
Yeah, because that is a big problem too, because I know for a lot of people, including me, we always thought until just recently that if you got like a vaccine, you're like immune completely for at least a few years. Not, it doesn't actually stop it, it just makes it so you're not going to get the worst symptoms and die from it.
It's like that with flu. It's like that with flu and a couple others, where, you're not like immune to it, but it's gonna less affect you if you do get it.
Yeah, because I've seen that a lot too lately. Like, people just don't have like good information on health. Like, even I didn't know. I thought it would, if you took vaccines, you're just immune for several years. And I thought, oh no, it's actually not the case. It just makes you less likely to die from the effects of it. So I think that's a lot of big reason why there's also hesitation. Like, people are told that if you get the vaccine, you're perfectly safe. And then, so you're actually still can get COVID even with it. So, yeah, like, you're full of shit in their eyes, basically. You there?
Yeah, I'm just checking if there's any more clips.
So I think that's also a big reason, too, that it was that vaccines are not properly explained that well in that regard. And, of course, people just being idiots, of course. And, of course, Daddy Trump telling them to not take it. Oh, that's right. He did tell them to take it, but they booed him because he's a fucking idiot that downplayed it before. Oh, my God. And this is a long-ass clip, too. I'm sure you're still looking for another part.
Yeah, so basically that one was like there, and there's another one at 14 minutes.
14.
Yeah, well, we go through to about
certainly
1250 on that
high
one.
enough that it is in fact greater than their risk of becoming severely ill with COVID. The data I saw suggested it was kind of a coin toss there, but slightly in favor of not getting vaccinated. If those data hold up, well, then yes, it may be rational to decide that 12-year-old boys shouldn't be vaccinated. But the general picture here is fairly well established. We know catching COVID is worse in almost every case that has thus far been tried than getting vaccinated for COVID. And from what I've seen recently, the data in favor of ivermectin seems increasingly dubious. So parsing all this should be left to the professionals, right? Again, I come back to my basic mystification around what Brett and Heather are doing. Why do this publicly? If you're going to make the personal choice not to get vaccinated based on your scrutiny of the data, great, make that choice. But why spend the better part of a year convincing people that they shouldn't get vaccinated? You can say that's not what you're doing, but that is in fact what you're doing. And that's what seems so irresponsible. The U.S. is now one of the least vaccinated countries in the developed world.
He goes on to say we are one of the least vaccinated countries in the developed world, and how dangerous this is. Now, there's 2 points here that I want to make. And, again, credit to
Australia has gone ahead of the U.S.
I think we actually covered it in the last episode about, like, vaccine rates across the world. Like, some of them were, like, pretty bad, even for their standards. I think, like, wasn't like Japan had like only like 50% or something like that? That's embarrassing for them. Even America was better than them in that regard. Or some other place like that. Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing. So is there anything else left to cover in this clip?
I'm just trying to think.
But yeah, like I said earlier, don't listen to these people that just tell you to take ivermectin, or like when Trump said a year ago to take that whatever thing is. Listen to health experts. If they say take the vaccine, it's the safest and most effective way to combat COVID, fucking take it if you can, you idiots. Don't listen to the anecdotes. They are anecdotes. And also, as Evans's vlog said earlier, shows they're not very effective at all. Whereas the vaccine is very effective.
Yep.
So is that it about this clip?
Yeah, looks like it.
Alright. So now, to wrap up the episode, we got 2 more rippings that we have to do. And at first, this one you actually covered that we should do a few months ago, but we never got around to it. And that's ripping apart Tulsi Gabbard, who unfortunately the last year or so has really shat the bed very, very hard. Oh God, she really shat the bed hard of like all the people that a lot of us on the left maybe support as a candidate for president 2020. Oh God, remember like back in like December before she left Congress, she passed that not passed, but co-sponsored that horrible anti-transgender bill in sports. Oh God,
yes.
I think that was the one you wanted to. I think that was the one you wanted to cover, but we never got around to it, sadly. Oh, that was so bad. Although,
that definitely was.
But that's that wasn't the one we were going to actually talk about. But maybe we could talk about the little quickly. What do you gotta say about that one? Oh God.
That is disgusting. It really is.
The only thing I could say is maybe in her defense, maybe she's not like actively like transphobic, like fuck transgender people. Maybe it's more like she's just confused, because a lot of people are like really confused on transgender issues when it comes to sports. Remember we talked about before, it's like very nuanced.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people are just genuinely confused about this issue, just like transgenderism was like a complex issue for years for like people to understand. And I really do think like if you explained this really well to Tulsi, I think she would change her mind on it. But maybe I'm just being, maybe I'm just being too naive, and like maybe she's indeed a transphobe. But let's prove it.
Yeah, well, it's probably a bit much, but maybe a bit hard. But
I think there's maybe a chance she could maybe change her mind at least on that issue. But that doesn't change the fact what she did was just bad. That was bad. Yeah. Even if you're ignorant and confused about the issue, you don't support bills like that. That was just bad. But now, of course, what we really wanted to talk about Tulsi recently is that she's no longer really anti-war right now. Now it's like her main shtick recently. And here's Mike's video on it.
So at this point, I don't think that any real leftist seriously believes that Tulsi Gabbard is progressive. I mean, at best, you could say that she's a centrist, but I think that functionally speaking, she's basically just a right-wing grifter at this point. I mean, this has been her trajectory ever since she abandoned her congressional seat to pursue her failed presidential campaign, which was extremely stupid, by the way. But she's even been hired by Rumble, a right-wing alternative to YouTube, to become an influencer. She's getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to, I'm assuming, warn her right-wing audience and AstroTurf audience about the dangers of transgender high school athletes and how censorship is bad, unless, of course, we're talking about censoring BDS activists, because then it seems like she's going to be on board for that form of censorship. So she's so strange. She's gone mask off multiple times. Even during her presidential campaign, she abandoned Medicare for all. And now she is basically undermining one of the main reasons why people liked her anti-war stance. And there were a lot of red flags there. So whenever she talked about how anti-war she was very interesting and deliberate rhetoric, right? She talked about how regime change war is bad, regime change war is bad, regime change war is bad. Okay, again, I agree with you technically. I do think that regime change wars are bad, but you don't have to add that caveat every single time. You can just say war is bad in general, and we'll know that you also mean regime change wars. But there was a very specific reason why she said regime change war is bad and not all wars are bad. She also conspicuously never denounced U.S. imperialism, and there's a reason for this, because Tulsi Gabbard is a U.S. imperialist, and she also is pro-war. And you don't have to take my word for it, you can take her word for it, because she's going to tell you how pro-war she is on Tucker Carlson's program. Now, before I show you the video clip, I do want to give you some additional context. So last week, the U.S. military admitted that it killed 10 innocent civilians via a drone strike in Kabul, and Tucker Carlson in this segment is going to criticize the Biden administration for this, and rightly so in my opinion. But what's interesting to me is that Tucker Carlson said nothing when...
Let's be honest, though. The only reason he's doing it is because Biden was president. If it was Trump, you know he would suck his dick and defend him at all costs. Because
Absolutely.
Because Tucker Carlson is nothing but a partisan hack.
Donald Trump increased drone strikes overall by more than 400%. So he is correct. Like, I don't have an issue with him condemning drone strikes. In fact, I wish that more news pundits would do this.
I don't even know if we covered it before, but I think Mike covered a video several months ago that Biden massively cut down on drone strikes compared to Trump. I think it was almost near 0% or something like that. I'm dead serious.
Wait, really?
I don't know about 0%, but really, really close to that amount or something like that. We gotta maybe find a video that Mike covered later, but yeah, he did cover about that. It was a massive drop to an even extent that even I thought Biden would never do.
But the hypocrisy is what I have an issue with. So basically, he's only talking about this. He's only pretending to care because he's using this as an excuse to attack Biden. That's fine. But he's going to bring in Tulsi Gabbard, assuming that she's going to attack Joe Biden because this is the anti-war person, supposedly, right? Well, no, she's actually going to take this in a different direction, and she's going
to a different direction that even Tucker in his stupid face all was surprised about.
Defend drone strikes, literally. And she says a lot of other stuff that should make any actual leftist feel very, very uncomfortable.
Before we find the face, he told us that a drone strike had killed a group of ISIS-K terrorists, whatever that is, in Kabul, and there were secondary explosions that proved they were suicide bombers. But they were lying, forced by the New York Times to admit it. They've now conceded they killed a number of innocent people, including children. Here's the interesting part. Mistakes happen. But in this case, no one in the Pentagon has been punished for this mistake or for lying about it. We thought it would be interesting to see what Tulsi Gabbard thinks about this. She's a former member of Congress from Hawaii. She served in Iraq as a member of the Hawaii Army National Guard. She's still serving in the country in the military. She joins us tonight. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. So you get to lie, I mean, this will not shock you because you've seen it so much, but you get to lie about the loss of human life. You get caught, and nothing happens to you? What kind of system is that?
And this kind of accountability is critical. I want to point out first that anytime there are civilian casualties in war, it is tragic and terrible. War is a terrible thing, and I think it's important for the American people to understand that Islamist jihadists are continuing to wage war against us. And the Islamist ideology, not the same as the religion of Islam, but this Islamist ideology, which is a political ideology that inspired the terrorist attacks on our country on 9/11, is the greatest threat that we're facing right now in this country and the world. It is the foundation of governance of...
Tulsi, no. When it comes to America, right-wing terrorism is the most common form of terrorism. 70% of it. I think it was... I don't even think Islamic terrorism was even second most. I think it was left-wing terrorism at 30%. I think it was Islam was only 5% of terrorism. And that was a few years ago in America. And guess who covered it up?
I don't think it was left-wing. I think, according to a lot of people like Tulsi, it's the same thing. I think number 2 would be black nationalists.
Yeah, something like that. But I don't think Islamic terrorism in America was even second place. It was only 5% or something like that, I think.
Yeah, last few years, there really hasn't been very many.
So yeah, when it comes to America specifically, no, Islamic terrorism is not a threat. Now, internationally, yeah, but America, no.
More Islamic than anything else.
So-called Islamic countries like Turkey and Iran and Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, and it's what's behind the discriminatory policies that they have in these countries against Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists, and others. So as long as these Islamist jihadists are waging war against us, we have to work to defeat them militarily and ideologically. And militarily, we have 2 choices in how we do that. Number 1, we can continue to invade and occupy and nation-building countries around the world, just as we did in Afghanistan, at great cost. Number 2, we can take a targeted approach using airstrikes, using our special forces to go in and go after these terrorist cells. The reality is...
The problem, though, Tulsi, and of course, remember, for all of you don't remember, she was actually pro-drone strikes when she ran in 2020, just like Bernie was. So, not quite not quite anti-war as she should be. But also, no, that is not going to make anything better. Us getting out is the only thing that's going to make it. Yeah, it's going to make it worse. We've been doing this shit for 30 years now, pretty much. since drones have been around almost as long as I've been alive, and they haven't made anything better. And all we do is just keep killing innocent people, like what just happened recently.
Is that the cost to the American people, the cost to our troops, the cost to civilians will be far less if we take this very targeted approach to go after these jihadist terror cells than if we continue making the very same mistakes that we saw in Afghanistan and other parts of the world of invasion, occupation, and nation building.
Yeah, so make no mistake about it. When she said on the campaign trail that she was against regime change wars, it's because she literally just had a tactical disagreement. She thought that regime change wars weren't a good way to facilitate her ultimate goal. And what she just did there was endorse drone strikes. Just a couple of weeks ago, Air Wars released a report showing that the US government killed between 22,000 and 48,000 innocent civilians, and yet she is, just weeks later, advocating for drone.
Yeah, according to this report, since 9/11, so 20 years now, US airstrikes have killed up to 48,000 civilians in 20 years. Think about that. 48,000 people, civilians, in 20 years. That's how bad the drones are.
Right, that is insane.
Drone strikes on national television. This is your anti-war candidate. Will any of the leftists who boosted her ever admit that they were wrong about her?
Like Dorr and Nico House. Remember when they kept saying that she's the actual left-wing candidate over Bernie? Clown, keep clowning yourselves. You're clowns. There's nothing. You can't defend Tulsi in this regard, you fucking idiots.
Now she says Islamist jihadists are continuing to wage wars against us. That's why she believes we should continue to do our illegal drone policy in Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia. And she says that the greatest threat that we're facing right now in the country and in the world is jihadism. She said that with a straight face. She said it is the greatest threat we're facing right now in the country and the world. First of all, I would argue that the U.S. government, that is the biggest terrorist threat in the world. But when it comes to threats that the world...
Yes, that's another fact too, guys. America is the biggest threat in the world, regardless of what conservatives like to deny at all costs. But no, we are the biggest threat to ourselves and the rest of the world. I think we actually covered this before. A few years ago, there was a big worldwide poll in the tens of thousands of people all across the world and what they think the biggest threat to world peace was. A quarter of them said America was #1.
Yeah. There's like 15 other countries listed that got numbers as well.
Yeah, between our interventionism that kills innocent people and destabilizes the world, to our industry causing severe climate change and all that, yeah, we are the biggest threat in the world. That ain't debatable.
Facing, how can you say that with a straight face, knowing that climate change could literally eradicate our entire species, not just the human species, but all types of species. Tree species are going extinct, animal species, plants. I mean, I don't think that she's actually dumb. I think that she's just extremely disingenuous. And by saying this to Tucker Carlson's right-wing audience, they don't believe in climate change, so they think, oh wow, she must be correct. So she knows who she's speaking to, but it's just to say something like that is so embarrassing. The fact that she said that with a straight face, I mean, it says everything you need to know about Tulsi Gabbard. Also, she says that when it comes to the Islamist jihadists, we have to work to defeat them militarily and ideologically. So she's already telling you, here's what we can do. We have no choice. We have to go after them. So we can either wage regime change wars, which we all know she hates, or, quote, we can take a targeted approach using airstrikes. She is quite literally endorsing the use of drones, which have single-handedly killed tens of thousands of innocent civilians. How does she sleep at night? This is the anti-war politician that everyone was waiting for? She's endorsing drones. And the drone strike that she was brought on to discuss specifically, the fact that she had absolutely no remorse whatsoever and didn't even address it, sidestepped it to talk about how bad Muslims were. It's beyond the veil for me. These are the victims. Some of the victims killed by that drone strike. On the top left, those two little boys were 9 and 10 years old. Now on the bottom in the middle, those two children in the orange sweaters, they were 3 and 4 years old. The little girl on the bottom right, she was just 2 years old. Tulsi said in that clip that we have to use drones because this Islamist jihadist threat. So, we use drones because they reduce the costs. Tell the families of those victims. Tell the family of that little girl who was 2 years old, Tulsi, that these drone strikes reduce costs.
Likewise, boss. I'd like to hear you tell that to Hakeem, who had his house destroyed in an airstrike in Iraq. But Biden is still better than Trump, even on foreign policy in that regard.
To their faces, I dare you, you fucking fraud. You wouldn't do that because you know it's not true. You're lying. You're lying. You don't care about them. What a fucking fraud. By now, if anyone is still boosting Tulsi Gabbard and they claim that they're on the left, acknowledge that they're either dumb or disingenuous. And for anyone, any political commentator who actually endorsed Tulsi Gabbard and campaigned for Tulsi Gabbard and boosted Tulsi Gabbard, maybe we shouldn't trust their judgment. Maybe these folks should admit that they were wrong and apologize to their audiences. People in America aren't going to be killed by some fucking terrorist attack by a jihadist. They're more likely to die due to COVID, due to lack of health insurance, or climate change. So, Tulsi Gabbard at this point is a joke, but, if you didn't know this by now, then there's no plausible deniability left. She's gone full mask off. When somebody tells you who they are, believe them.
They're just dumb, grifting clowns at this point, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, what do you gotta say about that, along with her transphobia bullshit?
He's gone way off the deep end.
Just like Yang did too.
Hindu nationalism and obvious Islamophobia. Yeah, Anna was kind of right about it.
And then of course you got Yang shit in the bed too, sadly as well.
Yep. going towards and bending around to being pro-genocide of the Palestinians.
Which is why my fellow progressives, Bernie was just the right candidate from the very start. Like I kept telling you. Like, dude, come on. Alright, so I think we've done enough topic on that. So now, let's get to our final topic when I find a video of us ripping apart Rockstar Interactive, who are the creators of GTA. And of course, they've really gotten a lot of shit in the last year or so. First, they really pissed off people by, instead of making GTA 6, which people want to see made, they're making GTA 5 on Xbox Series X and PS5, which really pissed them off. But now, of course, they take it to the next level where now they're going after modders and cracking down on modders for the games. Which is another...
going down the Nintendo route in that regard.
Yeah, Nintendo's really bad in that regard. Like, this is another thing that I have a big problem with the video game community, like with DLCs and all that. It's also when they crack down on modders. That really gets on my nerves. So let's go watch Young Ye's video on it.
Grand Theft Auto 5 came out 8 years ago, back in September of 2013. And it still continues to show up in ads during press conferences and the like. It still continues to make top 10 charts in terms...
It's actually the highest selling video game franchise in the world ever. All time. Over 100 million copies sold, I think.
...of sales. But with all that money, many fans feel as though Rockstar hasn't done enough to bolster Grand Theft Auto 5 with expansions for the single-player campaign. Instead, they have heavily leaned into Grand Theft Auto Online, their big moneymaker, and all the microtransactions.
Yeah, this is another thing I don't like lately. That's another thing. This is another thing I don't like. And this also happened to EU4 as well, which is another game I play. Like, came out the exact same time as GTA 5, and they're doing the exact same things, like keep expanding the game with DLCs and all that, to the point where it now costs like $300 to $400 in order to get everything for the game, which is fucking stupid.
Please.
Like, the games need to be released from the very start, finish. None of this, like, keeping the game running for several years, all that. Release the game.
At least if you do, or at least if you're going to do DLC, make them free.
What, the DLC free?
Yeah, let's make DLC free.
Or
I know that you would go further and make once a game is released, it'll be illegal for companies to add anything to it ever. But yeah, that would just lead to like the only issue I've got there is that like the Super Smash Bros.
But of course there
any new characters have to add under that thing that have to release an entire new game.
That is how they did historically.
DLC? I'm okay with that.
But of course, they're never going to do it because they want the free money, of course. And then, of course, they're not going to have that. And of course, another problem is with DLC, they're not going to have them available like 10, 20 years in the future if someone wants to play those games and they can't get them anymore because the Switch is no longer available to go on their store to get them. That's another big problem with DLC. But of course, we're getting off topic on that.
Transaction stuff there, and that's what they focus their content updates on because that's what's making them the big fat stats. But it's frustrated a lot of Grand Theft Auto 5 fans with each new port of Grand Theft Auto 5, which launched on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 before coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and now it's coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. They recently showed a new trailer for it, and it's the same old, they're just reselling the same game at full price, and it doesn't look like there's any kind of upgrade path to make matters worse.
Yeah, I saw the trailer. It doesn't look on the Xbox Series X and PS5, it really doesn't look any different than the advanced version on PC, Xbox One, and PS4. So they're basically just making a whole new game on another console without, like, really any upgrades. Eventually, we're probably going to get to the point where, like, graphically, we're going to hit, like, a peak where it's never going to get any better with newer systems eventually.
When it's just basically the same game, but utilizing the more powerful hardware, which is why if you look at this next-gen GTA 5 trailer published back in June of 2020, you'll find a less than ideal likes to dislikes ratio with 136,000 likes and a whopping 192,000 dislikes. So if you thought that was bad, well, the latest trailer that...
Like Rockstar... People want GTA 6. Fucking give it to them, for God's sake. It's been 8 years. Just give it to us already, for crying out loud. Hey, don't be like Paradox, where us Vicky 2 fans had to wait over 11 years so far for Vicky 3, for God's sake.
Yep.
Especially when they didn't do like an EU4, they only made 2 expansions, and that was back like in 2012. So it's been technically 9 years, almost 10 years since Vicky 2's been updated. You need to just release the new games instead of just keep trying to keep the old games running longer.
That was shown during the PlayStation Showcase 2021 event is in an even worse state. If you check out the September 9th trailer that they released for GTA 5 and GTA Online, only 24,000 likes and a whopping 101,000 dislikes. Even on the official Rockstar channel, if you check out the published trailer, only 32,000 likes versus 97,000 dislikes, a vast majority of dislikes. And in the description, you can see that this version of the game promises a range of technical and graphical improvements across the entire experience, including performance enhancements for select vehicles in GTA Online. And the trailer goes out of its way to advertise how much more improved GTA 5 is now on the new consoles, but people are very much questioning that based on the footage and based on past history with GTA 5 ports. So in the comment section of these trailers, you'll find comments like, is this really expanded and enhanced? It looks no different than the PS4 version. They even show the Deluxos at the end blowing people up, even though a lot of players hate the futuristic vehicles. And then below that, you've got other people saying stuff like, vote with your wallet, do not buy it. It's literally the exact same thing. There is nothing here that wasn't already available in the PC version years ago. Besides the obvious question, why is this even a thing? I think we're overlooking another important question. Why is it going to take 7 months to release the same game? This one's pretty funny. Don't worry, Rockstar will finally focus on their next big project, GTA 5 for PS6. And here are a few more topics. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. And then down here, not even new gameplay and even delaying it. This is a big fail. It didn't take long before Grand Theft Auto content creators chimed in, expressing disappointment and dismay at the way Take-Two and Rockstar are handling.
Yeah, this is something I wish the Pokemon community would have more of. Even the GTA community shat on Rockstars for this. See what happens when your community actually shits on you? Maybe you'd get more results.
The series. So here we have one video, for example, titled I'm Angry, Disappointed, and Embarrassed, in which they highlight how the title cards in this trailer say
very Nazi.
Things like how this next-gen version of GTA 5 is expanded and enhanced. They advertise just how much more improved the graphics are, how much more enhanced the gameplay is, how much more explosive the action is, and much more. But the footage shown in the trailer, from what people are seeing, is straight up just basically the same footage that they used when they were initially marketing this game all those years ago. This is essentially 2 generations ago footage. In some ways, it's worse, as the trailer shows a complete lack of reflections in one shot featuring car mirrors. There's even one shot in the new trailer showing a cutscene from GTA 5 where the cutscene is glitched out as it shows 2 chairs stacked on top of each other. License plates for some reason in this trailer were yellow, which definitely isn't normal. We can see right here, zooming out, this car has a yellow license plate, this car has a yellow license plate, and I believe, yeah, this car also has a yellow license plate. People don't know why. We have another video that gained some traction. The problem with GTA 5 expanded and enhanced. So one of the first things that's brought up is that the footage used in the new trailer, they couldn't even bother to use updated footage. It's 8-year-old footage, essentially, with 8-year-old effects and graphics. It shows none of the supposed enhancements made to graphics in this next-generation release. This user also highlighted the lack of reflections in one of the shots in the trailer. Meanwhile, fan mods are already doing a better job of implementing enhanced screen space reflections. You can see this is the default, and then here we have the modded version. You can see the reflections of the people, of the pedestrians walking by. Ray tracing being a big feature of next-gen graphics, people are baffled that Rockstar and Take-Two couldn't even be bothered to add that in this next-gen version of an 8-year-old title. This user is also baffled at this description right here, how the next-gen version of GTA 5 includes performance enhancements for just select vehicles in GTA Online. He makes fun of the fact that seamless character switching was advertised as one of the big new features in this trailer that only throws at you vague title cards of this is better and that's also better, but don't actually go into detail, which suggests that there's actually not that much that's significantly improved in this new version. Yeah, seamless character switching is basically just faster loading times, and it was pretty fast already. It's going to be a little faster here, fine, but is that world-shattering, and is that something that justifies charging full price again? And this is Take-Two we're talking about. I'd be shocked if they actually implemented some kind of free upgrade program from PS4 to PS5. I think it's safe to say they're going to charge full price for the next-gen version without any kind of cross-gen purchase upgrade ability. This is a company that's never been consumer-friendly when it comes to cross-gen releases and upgrade paths. And I'll once again highlight the glitch of the 2 chairs stacked on top of each other. This user actually shows you a side-by-side of what it's supposed to look like, just the 1 chair versus what's in the trailer, a glitched-out version with 2 chairs. Like, this is how little they cared with this one. They straight up had bizarre visual elements going on, whether it's yellow license plates or objects colliding and phasing to each other, and they couldn't bother to even check that the old footage that they used was proper. And here's once again an emphasis on all these title cards, advertising just how much better this version is, but these title cards are so vague in their description, and the trailer actually does such a poor job of conveying what actually has been enhanced that the safe assumption is that these are just buzzwords that they're throwing out there. There's little substance behind these words, as the footage shows nothing has ultimately changed. It's basically the same game. Maybe one thing if Grand Theft Auto 5 has been getting consistent new.
We're not even at the worst part of this video, but see what I mean so far? A port of a game, it doesn't even look any better. Like, and of course, you're doing all this when people want GTA 6 instead.
Content releases, but again, GTA 5, the single-player stuff has been completely abandoned in favor of Grand Theft Auto Online, and Rockstar's output in general has gone way, way down because GTA Online makes so much money for them that they're no longer really pushing the boundaries of their creativity as much.
Which is why you gotta hit them where it hurts with your wallet. If they don't get your money, then they'll be forced to listen to us because they need our money. That's why I keep telling people, especially in the Pokemon community.
Much as they used to, instead choosing the path of easy profit. And you can see that in this timeline right here, showing how the 8-year-long period...
Oh yeah, let me go post a screenshot for you. To show you... Here, this is the, this shows how many games Rockstar has made since, like, the 90s. Look at the huge gap between GTA 5 and their next recent game, Red Dead Redemption. Look at this.
Whoa!
See what I mean?
Far out.
They're not. They've only made one new game since GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, because they're putting everything into GTA 5 instead.
Oh,
this is another reason why you can't do stuff like this, trying to keep a game alive forever. You need to focus on a new game instead, for Christ's sake. Oh my god. I gotta find the video again.
between Grand Theft Auto 5 and now. It's just been Grand Theft Auto 5, a whole lot of nothing, then Red Dead Redemption 2, and now we're waiting to see what the next project is. During all that time, not a single
Like, not only would it be nice to see GTA 6, but, you know, it would be nice to maybe have, oh, I don't know, Bully 2?
Expansion on a single piece of DLC for Grand Theft Auto 5. I find it hard to believe that they didn't actually have the manpower and resources to have a dedicated group just making new content, updating the game with new features, but it's remained exactly the same. I mean, you look at the recent 8 years and how little they've released versus the 8 years prior where they've released GTA 4 and all these other games and various expansions for GTA 4 alongside new games and new franchises, new IPs even. It's just a night and day difference. The priorities have clearly shifted to easy monetization. Now, perhaps the rehashing of Grand Theft Auto 5 with every new generation of consoles would be easier to overlook if Take-Two and Rockstar would leave modders alone, the people who are creating user-generated content.
Now, here's where the big problem in the video is for me.
That continues to breathe life into not only Grand Theft Auto 5, but other 3D Grand Theft Autos that were released prior. Since Rockstar and Take-Two can't be bothered to make new content for these games, the modders have taken it upon themselves to offer the community compelling new content, features, additions, you name it. But Take-Two and Rockstar have been woefully against that, and they've been that way for years and years. But recently there's been a resurgence of Take-Two removing mods, issuing DMCAs and whatnot, as highlighted by this video, Angry, Disappointed, and Embarrassed, showing articles like this one, Take-Two is removing old GTA mods using DMCA notices. We can keep scrolling forward. Take-Two goes on another Grand Theft Auto mod killing spree. Here's another one, Take-Two sues GTA reverse engineer.
You guys need to leave the fucking mod community alone! Jesus fucking Christ! We make the game we make games better because you won't do it for us! How about that? And we don't make money off it or anything like that. Other excuses, it can't be right. No, it's not, so shut up and die.
Carrying the project, ambitious GTA Underground mod shut down after 6 years due to increasing hostility from Take-Two. And more often than not, these modders who are working for free and not profiting from their mods, can't lawyer up, cannot afford to fight a major corporation like Take-Two, so they'll have no choice but to take down their mods. There was one instance where a mod developer actually won against Take-Two. This was a story from back in May of 2021, where the developer who reverse engineered Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City, which allows modders and developers to work on ports of the game to new platforms or adding new features and opening up the modding scene. This individual was sued by Take-Two, but won because the reverse engineering code that was used was actually unique and wasn't property of Take-Two. So Take-Two can force this modder to take this reverse engineer code down. But in most cases, if you're a modder and Take-Two has its sights on you, the likelihood is that the mod that was being worked on will be shut down. Now, this resurgence of Take-Two taking down mods happened quite recently, and the speculation is that it's because Take-Two and Rockstar are working on releasing a remastered version of the Grand Theft Auto trilogy. So Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and
oh yeah, that's what they're doing recently. I think it was later on this year or whatever. They're making remastered port version of Free, Vice City, and San Andreas. But boo fucking who? How about that?
Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And the mods that Take-Two have specifically been taking down recently are ones that take a Grand Theft Auto game and port it over to a newer Grand Theft Auto's engine, or that take other Grand Theft Auto's maps and compile them in one huge map in one of the Grand Theft Auto games, stuff like that. Stuff that essentially makes the modders' remastered version of those games better than what Rockstar would output through their own remaster. Bottom line is Take-Two doesn't want modders to eat into their sales, but the thing is to use the mods, you have to purchase those games anyway, so it actually benefit Rockstar. Mods extend the game's lifespan. People continue to play San Andreas not only because it is a really good game, but also because of the modding possibilities. People still play Skyrim because of that, a game that's older than GTA 5.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the game developers don't seem to understand. The modding community makes a game better because you won't do the work for us, so we have to do the work for you. Just like I've been working on the last year with my Vicky 2 mod. The game has stuff on it I don't like, and they're not going to do it because the game's pretty much dead, so I'm going to do it myself. It ain't that hard.
5. And people are still going to buy the remastered trilogy here, the official versions, which are eventually coming to PC. A mining scene for the remastered ports could bolster the sales because people will buy it not just for the official experience, but also for all the user-created content out there. The Take-Two's been adamant about as the game played bullying GTA modders and hampering creativity and innovation, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And despite the way Take-Two has been treating modders, they had the audacity back in August to state that they're pretty flexible on removing Grand Theft Auto mods. This post on GTA forums really spotlights what modders have had to go through because of Take-Two's lack of flexibility when it comes to modding. You may recall that back in 2017, Take-Two tried to essentially take down the entire modding scene for Grand Theft Auto 5 when they tried to eliminate Open4, which is a key modding tool / editor / manager back in 2017.
Sounds like they're going Nintendo now, don't it?
2017, their attempt failed when they faced mass protest, and they decided to be a bit more flexible, but also implemented rules drafted up in 2017 that can be summarized as: don't port maps, vehicles, content from older GTA games or other video game series to Rage, and stay away from online. Absolutely do not touch online or anything related to GTA Online. Rage, by the way, refers to the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, basically the GTA 5 engine. The rules that they established were: don't port anything over to the GTA 5 engine, and don't screw around with GTA Online, and we'll be good. So mods of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, for example, like GTA Underground, they said would be fine, but in 2019 they actually changed the rules in this agreement. It was updated without informing the community. Words were changed to pretty much add in a disclaimer that Take-Two can override any of this, and well, Take-Two can do whatever they want, which is exactly what's going on as mods like GTA Underground, Liberty City, State of Liberty, GTA 5 on San Andreas, Vice Cry, Liberty City Stories PC, Vice City Stories PC are all being taken down or DMCA. Even though these are not mods of GTA 5, but rather older GTA titles. Mods that require people to own copies of those games. This again is beneficial for Rockstar, just as the modding scene has been beneficial for the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series. And speaking of Bethesda, they are allowing projects like Skywind and Skyblivion or a Fallout 3 conversion into Fallout 4 mods to exist as long as all the assets are original. And guess what? Bethesda's still doing fine. They're still selling tons of copies of all those Elder Scrolls and Fallout games. If anything, the modding scene is encouraging people to keep buying and keep playing these games. So Take-Two has this idea that if mods for these games are allowed to fester, then it's going to eat into their remaster sales. They're just so short-sighted, Take-Two.
No, they're just retarded and greedy. That's all there is to it.
Rockstar in terms of how they're handling the community and that's the benefits that
they're evil because they're a corporation
that can offer. And what's egregious
by default.
And then, of course, Nintendo are just brain dead about mods, just like they're brain dead about copyright, too.
Says that mods Take-Two are taking down are fully original mods. So this one, for example, Vice Pride, which is essentially an overhaul of Vice City to enhance its appearance and graphics. It got taken down even though it doesn't convert any assets. It uses wholly original assets, but it's not as if Take-Two has a history of caring about that stuff. And the reason I bring up modding and how poorly Take-Two has handled that is because there's already a lack of activity when it comes to Grand Theft Auto because GTA Online is generating so much money for Take-Two. Take-Two and Rockstar cannot be bothered to make new content for GTA 5 to keep it alive. And so the modders have taken it upon themselves to introduce new content, new features, user-created content that can continue to bolster life into a series that the single-player stuff is going woefully ignored by Take-Two and Rockstar. To go after the modding community like this in such an unreasonable fashion, despite these folks being the people who've kept Rockstar's previous Grand Theft Auto games alive for years and years and continue to breathe life into them, it's just ungrateful, short-sighted, and straight up scummy. Yeah, this is kind of where we're at. The mass dislikes here, the protest going on here, is a reflection of Rockstar and Take-Two's treatment of the modding community alongside their treatment of fans of the single-player Grand Theft Auto campaigns and the lack of updates, content, features, and whatnot. And so yeah, GTA 5 fans are fed up. Either put more effort into updating your games if you're going to keep reselling them, Rockstar, or at the very least, leave modders alone to essentially do what you all don't seem to be capable of or don't seem to want to do. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is everything you need to know.
You need to leave the fucking modding community alone. We don't make any money out of it whatsoever. In some ways, we probably even lose money out of it. We make the games better because you refuse to do it. So, eat dick and leave us alone. And also, if you don't like the criticism about it, here's what you do. Make GTA 6 like the community wants. You fucking retards. And stop going after us. Like, oh my god. Anything else you gotta say about this?
Not really. It's just, yeah. You pretty much said what I want to say.
Like, they need...
And, oh, Nintendo. Oh, Pokemon Uranium again.
Oh, yeah. Eat dick. Uranium is fucking fun as shit. And it doesn't cost you anything, you fucking lying sacks of shit. I bet... Ooh. I wonder how jealous they would be if they got their hands on Solar Light and Lunar Dark, probably the best Pokemon game in years. Oh, be mad that I got to join a game with almost 400 created Pokemon with a very good story, fucking regional tournaments and all that. That was so fun. So, eat dick. If you don't like it, then make the games more like what we want. Maybe you should do what you should follow the suggestions I did earlier this year about what I want in Pokemon, but oh, God forbid, you get triggered by that. Fucking dumb.
I think there are a few that I think would be a little bit unrealistic. But I think like the 150 Pokemon generation, I think it's a little bit too many generation by generation, but I'd say 100. It should definitely be at least 100 new Pokemon.
I mean, if
not 150, I think that's a little bit too thing. Like that, like you did it in Gen 5, but
Gen 1 too.
Have any other Pokemon?
And Gen 1 had 2 of 150, and of course you remember Hoenn had 100.
First generation, so
and then 100. And then Hoenn had
100. Gen 5 because of the there's been a few gens since the start.
And then
I know the Pokemon wanted to get off with a bang.
And then Hoenn, of course, had 135, remember?
And about 117 or something for Sinnoh.
No, I think Sinnoh was 109 or something like that.
Okay.
And then the last generation sets have been like 70 to 90 each. But all I could say is, you've done it before, you could do it again. Your RAM has over 150 unique Pokemon. Fucking Solar Light Lunar Dark has over almost 400. If they could do it, you can too. But
at least go for 100 per generation. I don't know if those ones might be slightly different because I think... How long has Solar Light Lunar Dark been, like, in development for?
The earliest I heard of it was a demo in 2015. I don't think it got finished till like 2019. So possibly up to 4 years.
So 4 or 5 years, yeah.
Alright, so I think we've talked about all the topics for this one. So see you guys next time, and hopefully we might see if we could do an episode very soon, exclusively watching Kyle's Unpopular Takes, and of course one that we definitely like to do very soon in the future, ripping apart PragerU! That would be fun, ripping them apart!
Dedicated to just that bullshit.
Oh boy, that would be fun. So, see you guys next time.
Alright.